Alright. Madame Briardien, I must apologize for the behavior of my students. They have been at each other's throats since the revelation came to light. As for the performance, you have surpassed my expectations. Now allow you to assist Briardien in his work at the scholasticates. Well done! If I may be so bold, uncle, though I might have but arrived, and this is the only case you have had me to investigate thus far, I must say that I found it rather a wasted of my talents. Ouch! While the theft is indeed a serious matter, I cannot help but wonder if this was merely some pretense. Surely you have more pressing problems. An astute observation, I expect nothing less. There is indeed another matter I should discuss with you, and your newly appointed associate. Okay. And the next one, the balancing the spear. I better start from the beginning. It would not do to involve Madame Briardien with the affairs without first assuring she possessed a proper understanding on how our summary function and how we've been forced to change. You see, most men and women of the cloth go to living fulfilled lives as pastors, academics, and poets. However, those who graduate from the scholasticates with the highest mark are given the opportunity to serve in the vault, and perhaps one day rise to prominence. The stakes are quite high for those who seek such prestige. For those who know full well that their academic performance may determine their future. It is those who strive for the top 3 seats are granted to the scholasticates, officially endorse the Trinity. And so those who wish to guide Ishgard faithfully spend their days culminating marks throughout the academic pursuits, and while at the same time honing their skills to persuade others to share their interpretation of scriptures. Up to now, it resulted into no more than occasional live debates, for the Holy See was ultimately responsible for dedicating doctrine. Ranking was naturally determined by one's familiarity with said doctrine. However, in light of recent events, that is no longer the option. We simply put, we cannot certainly assess their academic performance in the traditional manner, as the significant portion of the curriculum has been called into question. As a result, we have been forced to consider more seductive methods. And in this time of uncertainty, students want to lash out at their peers, whom they fear will exploit their interim system to their advantage. Disgusting, I suppose, but what does this have to do with us? I require your unparalleled skill of observation and deduction. Okay. The only way to put an end to this bickering between students is to ensure beyond a shadow of a doubt that their internal evaluation and conduct in a fair and equitable manner. I ask you to stand as an observer until a new curriculum is decided. Our evaluation system is fallible. In other words, you want us to catch the cheaters. Pretty much. Precisely. Now then, I received word that the headmistress has returned to her office in the Citadel. I would ask you to introduce yourselves. Alright. But there is something you should keep in mind when speaking with the Headmistress Elviane. She was appointed to her position by a former archbishop. Thus your views on the curriculum are quite traditional. I would advise you to discuss matters regarding the Holy See with utmost care. Roger that. Okay, now I need to talk to the headmistress. Can't wait to get this quest line done. it's kind of good to come back to Ishgard again all these years, even after not doing this quest line when it first got introduced. We've been expecting you. The headmistress awaits you within. Headmistress Elviane, may I have the pleasure to introduce the individuals who shall be in charge of keeping order at the scholasticates. This is the consulting inspector Briardien and his associate Antorius Pendragon. Artorius Pendragon, I must say, Father Briardien, your selections are rather appropriate. We thank you both for your service in their time of need. I trust that Father Briardien has briefed you on the humble Seminary. St. Eladin's Scholasticates has produced Ishgard's finest clergy for centuries, including countless men and women who have served in the highest echelon of the Holy See. All of them we spared a brutal death on the battlefield, in service to a misguided war they persecuted? I think that's the right word. Or so might be given to say. Indeed, some might, and they would not be entirely mistaken, for while we were wholly unaware of the deception persecuted by the Archbishop, we did unwittingly sustain it to our sorrow. The idea that we willingly subject them to false pretenses is, of course, preposterous, a conjured fantasy. Nonetheless, some faithfully believe it true, and these self-same individuals have come to view our instructions and students as targets for their misguided anger. It is of paramount importance that we restore faith to the teachings. Yet, how we regain in the trust of the common man when our own Silverians are embroiled in childish quarrels? God damn it. You refer to this tension regarding the interim elevation system? Quite frankly, it is but one facet. Class has been suspended until we complete our own painstaking review on the curriculum. Some students have taken leave, while the most dedicated to taking it upon themselves to conduct independent work to demonstrate their merit. We can't allow this situation to continue indefinitely. Graduation is approaching and we must make our recommendation, but the senior class is divided. They do not know what they will be elevated. Words. Rather, they understand how they will be evaluated, but have no faith that our methods will produce fair results, a concern not without merit. I must confess, I too suspect that some may be driven to manipulate their interim system to their advantage. I suspect some have already tried, but this is why we brought an outside observer, Inspector Briardien, Artorius Pendragon. If Aaron is engaging in unscrupulous behavior, it should be brought to an end at once. May the Fury guide you in your task. Well, thank you, ma'am. But how are we going to root out the people that are cheating, though? I don't think they have a polygraph system in this world. Now then, before we proceed, might you both tell us a little about your student, Father? My apologies. I am Father Saturninus. In addition of teaching the fundamental of Hollow's policy, I also observe in fundraising for the stipends of unprivileged students. While I would like to help you, I think my parents would not deem them justice. I would suggest getting to know them yourself. Well, it kinda makes sense. I feel the same. The way in which pupils seek in of their instructor is not the same among themselves. In my 10 years consulting, they have minded their etiquette, and they are not to condole to me. However, I recommend one of my students who's quite vocal. Mayhap you might try speaking with the dormitory prefect, R. Colmadane. Given his closest to the students' social affairs, he might be also able to give you insight on what they talk about. R. Colmadane. Ah, yes, the silver-haired boy, the son of House Demoiselle. As I recall, we may need his suggestion. Sister Castine give his duty and status. Alright, let's talk to the house prefect. Back to the syndicates. I'm curious, I wonder what kind of dorm looked like in this area. I wish they'd given her more options to explore that. Oh, this bastard. Why do I need to talk to him? Hello, Mr. Malfoy. Has no one ever told you that piracy's weapon is frowned upon in the place of enlightenment? That is, unless light has sent you to stir up more trouble. Rest assured that my associate Spectre draws her armament only to solve troublesome situations, not to create them. We merely came to ask if your well-being and your expectations for the future. Under the aspects of the headmistress, I am sure. Very well, I, Desperate de Berfont of House Benefault, in service of House Demoiselle, present to you Archstrom Bandel de Demoiselle. As prefect for the certificates dormitory, we are responsible for keeping the peace between our fellow Cimmerians. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are you not the former who went to a rather great lengths to expose the Archbishop's falsehood, responsible for the revelation of the entire curriculum? Yes, that's me. Quite a resolution. That, and for what? Every great nation in history is marred with sins of the past. Alamago, Alda, Dinsula Mensa. Please, each was built on its foundation of lies and blood. Well, he has a point there, but I don't know how to argue with that. Which is not to say we at least should not learn from his mistakes, but we should have served as shepherds of the people for thousands of years, have a duty to maintain order throughout the preservation of tradition. Would a great right cast aside his father's best cart, when it has been but a broken wheel? Indeed, Briardien, and I have said as much as those who support a more radical approach. The last thing we need now is a young Cimmerian running about crying for reformation. I see, so both of you have quite achieved convincing the other students to see things your way. Have you fared? This is hardly a daunting task. May I seek confrontation in consistency? Consistency? I guess with damn words. Sister Gastiel has taught us to bring back the students who took leave. We will not let our results determine how persuasive we are. I thank you, gentlemen, for your cooperation, and wish you the best of luck with your efforts. Now then, Notorious, if these students are bringing back their truant peers, then there must be others who are doing the same. Let's split up and seek out the participants. Okay. Well, see you, Malfoy. I knew a select flower graced us with their presence today. Well met, my dear. And what I am, chopped liver? He was looking at me until you showed up. Well, ladies, I know where I just came here, but I don't want to be that one person steal your thunder. I see. So you're helping Inspector Briardien? A pleasure to meet you. I am Crammevoix de Maitiki, but you may address me to simply as my first name. So what brings you to the pillars? Could it be that you observe how we go about convincing truant Sumerians to return? Then, by all means, let me show you how it is done. Alright then. I must admit, I find many of the other students rather intimidating, but thanks to Crammevoix, I'm considering returning to the Associates to resume my studies. We were just discussing the responsibility the Highborn had redress the imbalance of the Fury's love will all men receive, and by the blessings of her spear will all be set free. So it is written in volume 11 of the 72 article of Halun's polity. Equal under her ever-watching gaze. Will you just gaze our halls with your presence once more, that I might favor you with my own gaze? I fondly recall seeing your lovely face, always buried in that tome. Oh, but Clamorox, do you not notice? I thought to pen a lady treatises on it, but I could not do it once. The volume had vanished. Oh, so he helped Marty by searching for that tome? But how vehement the content has become these days. I suppose it's not surprising it would go missing. In any event, you have convinced me. I will gather my things and return to the dormitory straight away. Yes, that is the way. One must seize their moment and act upon one's conviction. Life is but a flitting, fragile thing. Wouldn't agree, my dear. Well, I have done my part in guiding a little lamb back to its flock, and now to celebrate with a well-deserved nap. I bid you both farewell. Wait, what? Alright then. Okay, where's this person? Oh, right down here. Hi guys! Oh, hello Atarius! Light and I were just about to visit our friend in the Foundation and try to convince them to return to their studies. It's been a difficult since they aren't actually held in high regards right now. The dormitory prefects had made sure of that. We must do all in our power to motivate our friends to come back to the Associates. Then we can strive for high marks together. Right then, now we can convince them. Right, now then. We can convince our peers that we may just be as worthy as any highborn in the clergy. They will welcome us with open arms, and all will be well in Ashgard. If Briardien and his cronies receive the Scholasticate's endorsement, no one will ever listen to us. We can't let them take the Trinity. I'd rather not think of that way. Let us just focus on bringing back as many people as we can. Well, he has a point, yes, but... Well, that's how the Highborns are thinking about it. The more vocal we become, the more they will see us as a threat. That is why we have to stick together. Well, it makes sense. If you split up, your resources will be very thin, so it's like better stay in groups of numbers. Okay, so I'm guessing I'm going back to the dorm. Alright, let us talk to these group cronies again. I really hate those two. This is like, every time I see them, it just gives me more flashbacks to Malfoy and his cronies. Right then, let us see how competitive these students truly are. It brings me joy to see so many of our brothers and sisters return to the Scholasticates. Sister Gestel, the floor is yours. Thank you, Briardien. I will now announce how many of our stray sheeps each student's persuaded to come home. Both Timberlot and Leigh were able to bring back one student each. Giselle guided two back to their arms. Artobrain and Larisor will each be able to convince 3 students to return, and most of all, extra work to all of you. What about the students Crammevoix convince to return? Oh, is this true? Are we missing someone from the count? The girl you speak of has formally withdrawn from the syndicates. Apparently, she was not all that ecstatic about returning as she led Cormorix to believe. Mayhap she have chosen to play along so he would cease his harassment. Wait, what? Perhaps it was for the best. She rarely engaged her fellow students, instead of choosing to sit alone and read the articles of her own policy, given the recent revelations. I suspect she became disillusioned with the fate. Strange you would say that, Larizar. When I last spoke with her, although I was quite interested in the volume 11, equal honor her ever-watching gaze. Passage. One that you and your master would sooner pretend did not exist. If she were a victim of harassment, I rather expect it was of your own hands. Are you implying we have something to do with it just because we did not share her views? What rot! You dishonor yourself and your house with such baseless accusation. Rather you would, if not, remain in your house to dishonor. I yield, good sir, I yield. I lack the qualities that Honorable Lord Briardien possessed, which enabled him to deliver such observation. Well, if all has withdrawn then, I most mourn her departure by walking through the dormitory hall, reciting excerpts from volume 11. Damn. And how do you tend to do that? Volume of the Articles of Loan policy has been missing for some time now. The tomes themselves are inconsequential. If one has taken the words to heart, how fortunate we are that the wisdom of our forebears is not so easily forgotten. Would you not agree? Well, that's true. Once you memorize it, it doesn't really need to require a tome to get to recite it again. Such an imprudent as a prefix of the sixth son. No. Such prudent as fit a sixth son. For all his failings, his father was wise to send him away. At any rate, we are blessed that this handful of torrents have returned to us. Truly, it is the Fury's will that we will overcome these trials and tribulations and move forward with a singular vision for the future. Yeah, he keeps telling us that, but I don't like him one bit. A student with a keen interest in the controversial precept who withdraws without explanation. This seems rather odd to me as well. Mayhap it is without any of worthy of our attention. Alright then. Next time in Final Fantasy XIV, will Leo and his friend finally obtain the rank of Trinity? Will the Spectre and his uncle stop pushing up their glasses in every given moment? Only time will tell in the next episode of Final Fantasy XIV's questline, Scholasticates. With that being said, this has been Ravensleep45. Keep giving everyone, and have a pleasant 14th day.